So going to Dublin was really exciting because the idea behind it, the concept was to do pubs, which is kind of different because normally when I go anywhere, we're doing lots and lots of different subjects, you know, big cathedrals and bridges and parks and all that kind of thing. But with Dublin, because the pub culture is so strong, not that they're all alcoholics, but you kind of know what I mean, we just wanted to focus on the pubs because they look so beautiful. So I really wanted to go a little bit closer with the subject. So the first pre-sketch that I'm going to show you is O'Neill's pub. And you can see our positioning in relation to the scene were a lot closer. So I don't want to say we were doing more detail because all the sketches that I ever do are detailed, but the detail was closer. So we go in a lot nearer to the subject. So on this one, you can actually see at the bottom, it's got the barrels and it's got the bench here, and it's got the lamps and it's got the hanging baskets and it's got the lettering. So I think what I wanted to do was almost celebrate the closeness of these fabulous subjects and keep them all as front elevations as well. So in one sense, the actual composition of them was quite straightforward, but within that we could make it quite complex. Yeah, there was. What was really interesting for me, and I touched upon it in that last answer then, is when I wanted to do the front elevations, and because I wanted to be quite close to the subject as well, what I decided to do, and it kind of happened almost straight away, but I wasn't quite aware of it until the second sketch, is you can see for this one of the Keys pub here, we introduced to the students this concept of hanging off the top edge. Because normally what I do with a lot of my scenes, and it doesn't work on all of them, but a lot of them, we have this white space all the way around, you know, so things are nicely compressed on the page. But with this particular subject, or series of subjects, because everything was much closer and the buildings were a lot taller, I didn't want to do the top of them because to get the top in, we would have had to go further away. So because of our positioning in relation to the subject, we had to have this concept of everything hanging off. So we call these hangers. And the students really liked that. They got that idea. So as things hung down, they then kind of had a bit of a platform at the bottom. And if I just flick back, you can actually see it on the other one, although I wasn't quite aware of it at this stage. So things come off the top edge, they hang down, and then they kind of expand out. They grow out at the bottom to give it almost like a plinth for it to sit on. So in terms of anything changing, it was this concept which I really quite enjoyed. I like the idea of this, and it was really beneficial to the students as well. There was quite a few things really. There was the signage, obviously, and then you can see it in this next one. The third one was the hairy lemon. You know, all the signs kind of hanging out as well. You know, the boards that stuck out and the signs coming across the front. But also it was, every drawing seemed to have Guinness inside. There was beer and there was drinks and there was barrels outside and there was benches. So there was such a lot of wonderful visual imagery to really kind of celebrate. And I think this was partly because we were so close to them and we were just focusing on this one building. You know, it wasn't a series of buildings. There was very little perspective. So a lot of the traditional challenges that you have when you're drawing a lot of the scenes that we normally do, they were kind of taken out of these subjects because they were flat facades. A lot of the traditional issues that you have with perspective and everything and space were taken out, and we could just focus in on the details, like the signage and like all the kind of the beers and things and pints of Guinness that you saw kind of sitting in front of the pubs. I mean, Dublin being a really busy, lively place, I think what I tried to do in the sketches, and this is the St John Gogarty here, which is the fourth pre-sketch we did. This is a good example of, this is on Temple Bar, which is the busiest part of Dublin, full of people, full of life, full of energy. And it's trying to capture that spirit within the picture. You know, the storytelling elements is you and your relationship to the scene. So it's trying to incorporate all of that in without putting the people in. But the people are there, they could be there, they're almost there, they're just not quite. But everything that people need, all the references to the people are there, like the doorways, the barrels, the benches, the signage, the advertising, you know, the invitation to come in to the pub and have a drink and have a laugh and listen to the music and all that kind of stuff. It's all there. but you can't see it. So trying to incorporate the experience was very much through capturing that energy and that liveliness of the whole place, which was hopefully what I was trying to achieve. And I think a lot of the students really got that as well. You know, they loved being in these spaces surrounded by people and having an opportunity to draw these kind of iconic, world famous pubs. So Dublin hasn't got great weather at the best of times, and when we went there it was October, so we had a lot of rain. I think we had rain 3 days, and the final one that we did, which was Devitt's pub, you can actually see there's lots of kind of little splashes of water that came down, because this one was drawn initially outside, and it was raining at the time, and it was quite windy and it was quite cold. So the weather is a challenge. The weather's always going to be a challenge when you're drawing outside. And it's just something you got to rock and roll with. You know, it's part of the experience. Sometimes it forces you to perhaps draw a little bit more quickly and maybe take a few kind of shortcuts and a few more risks in drawing, because you know you can't spend hours there, and that's a good thing in a way. So this drawing here, I look at this sketch now, this pre-sketch of the final workshop, and I can remember the weather, I can feel the rain, I can feel the cold, I can feel the pub beckoning me in, saying, Ian, you've suffered for long enough for your art now. There's a pint of Guinness inside waiting for you, even though it's 9 o'clock in the morning.